Okay, welcome to the Sacral Chakra Healing Workshop. And today we're going to be focusing on healing the unworthiness wound that many of us carry at varying degrees, and that especially women tend to carry. And I'm going to kind of talk about why that is. And I'd also like to shift the focus of not just recognizing our own unworthiness, because oftentimes there's deeper, more hidden, more subconscious levels of unworthiness that we don't even realize we're carrying. So that's important to start to recognize. But more importantly, I want to help you guys step into a new level of worthiness. That's ultimately the goal, right? It's good to talk about the things that we want to release and we want to understand and work through, but it's even more important to step into, okay, now what do I do with that, and how do I go forward and heal that wound? So let me just show you how I energetically prep. I've got my diffuser going back here, and I picked 4 oils that work with the sacral chakra. So there's lemon, which is, lemon's like a very cleansing essential oil. I used ylang ylang, which is the oil of the inner child. So there's lots of inner child healing to do around worthiness. I also use patchouli, which is a very grounding oil, and it helps us to come back into our bodies. And that's really important when we're doing sacral chakra work. That's the oil of embodiment. And then I also chose sandalwood, which is just a very sacred oil. And it's also a very grounding oil that really taps into, I love the tree oils. They really tap into kind of like longer term wisdom that we're going to hopefully be calling in today. This is going to be interactive too. So I'm going to ask you guys to like journal a little bit, share a little bit. I'm going to do a little guided meditation. If you're new to working with me, I always have an outline and a plan for these. I get like a ping, this is what you need to talk about, but I don't finalize it until right before the workshop, because right before the workshop, I'm kind of tapping into the energy of who's coming. And I'm like, okay, what's the most important stuff to do today? So, I used to think that was procrastination, but now what I realize is that's just how I work. And it actually works really, really well for me because I get dropped in right in the moment. So let's start with just basics about the sacral chakra. So it's your second chakra that sits about 2 inches below the navel, right above the root chakra. And the sacral chakra is really your emotional center. It's really your center for creativity. It's your center for sexuality, pleasure, and it's also your center for abundance. I think sometimes people forget that the sacral is actually the center for abundance, because the root chakra is about, okay, these are my basic needs for survival. And then the sacral chakra goes into, okay, now what do I get to receive and enjoy above and beyond just the bare minimum? So it's about overflow, extra, and really joy and pleasure, not just enough to get by. So women especially tend to hold unworthiness in the sacral chakra, because for hundreds, thousands of years, women were not, in different varying degrees in varying cultures, right? Women were not allowed to have their own autonomy. They were not allowed to own land. They were not allowed to vote. They were not allowed to express their sexual energy. They were not allowed to express their innate healing abilities, right? So we got these 3 kind of categories that I've come to, which are the label of the bitch, right? The woman who speaks out too much and has too much opinion. The witch, the woman who is using energy healing, natural medicine, herbs, and the whore, the woman who is expressing her sacred sexuality. So all 3 of these labels against women are really blocking our worthiness, because as soon as we begin to express what is emotionally coming up through the sacral chakra, which is all of our creativity, all of our innate healing abilities, our ability to create life, right? Sexuality is our ability to create life as women, has all been slandered and shamed. So the real roots of our unworthiness come from shame. And of course, men have this too, but I'm talking to, women and those who identify in the female gender. So it's a complicated space, because we're working through our own life experiences. We're working through what society has told us and programmed us. We're working through what our mothers, grandmothers, great grandmothers, great, all the way back have dealt with. because each woman, when you're in the womb, so when I was in my mother's womb, my ovaries held the eggs of held my daughter and potential future children that I may or may not have. And the same thing, when my mother was in my grandmother's womb, I was an egg in my mother's ovary, right? So in 2 generations back, we have been literally physically connected to the chemistry of our female ancestors. And so there is this very, very strong connection, this lineage that we are carrying forward. And there's just a ton of shame. Like, let's just be frank, there's a ton of shame. And shame really blocks our ability to express ourselves. Shame denies our feelings. Shame tells us that the things we feel inside that we want to create and put out into the world are wrong and that we are bad for it. So shame is a massive, massive wound to overcome. And so why didn't I call this the shame workshop? Well, it didn't come through that way, first of all. And also, who's like, yeah, let's spend a whole hour talking about shame. Like, oh, that feels horrible. And lots of you would show up for that, right? I don't think that I think most of you are at a place where you're like, yes, let's talk about shame, please. But what it translates to, because I'm all about, the energy work. I'm all about the chakras. I'm all about these things, but I'm an earth sign. So I'm like, okay, let's translate this into real life, because I got to pay the bills. I got to show up as a mother. I got to have a relationship. I want a nice house. I want a healthy body. So how do we translate all of this energetic stuff into living in the 3D world? And the way that this shows up for us is in unworthiness. So whether you're trying to attract a partner, or whether you are trying to start a business, or you are trying to move up in a company that you work for, whether you are trying to do a new creative project or some side project, if you get this inspiration, this hit, like, this is what I want to do, yes, this is me, but then this shame thing pops in where it's like, well, but what you do is, that's not good. You're not a good person if you do that. That's too out there. That's too fringe. That's not acceptable. This shame thing can block you from fully expressing your creative potential and who you are. So when we feel unworthy, we lose our ability to experience pleasure. And I see so many women who are just kind of getting by, and they're so disconnected from pleasure, and they're so disconnected from joy. And I imagine that many of you are still connected to your pleasure and your joy, but I can almost promise you that you're only tapping into a portion of it, that there's a lot more of it available to you. And I know there's a lot more of it available to me, and I want to call more pleasure and more joy. So these workshops for you guys, they're also for me too, right? We're teaching on what we are learning on ourselves. So I want you guys to just pop into the chat box. What is a thing that you are desiring to call into your life right now? And again, that might be a relationship. It might be more money. It might be stepping into your soul path as an energy healer. It might be manifesting a new home, any of the things, or doing a creative project, whatever it is. Just pop in there what you are working towards or what you are desiring in your life that maybe you feel like you're on the path and it's just a little ways away, or maybe you feel completely blocked in accessing that. Growth in spiritual business. Perfect. I think these are slow to come in for me here. Money and creating my coaching business. Yes. So as you guys are starting to get a little bit clear on, okay, like, why did I show up today? What am I looking for? We're going to dive into the shadow work a little bit. I'm going to have you do a little journaling on this, because sometimes in order to, Sarah wants looking for more money and attracting more clients. Ashina says money and growing spiritually. Yes. All right. Everybody wants abundance. I love this. More creative art projects, healing myself and others. Perfect. coming from a place of joy and pleasure in all that I do. Yes, please. Like, let's make cleaning the kitchen feel like really joyful, right? Or being able to hire a house cleaner and having that feel really joyful. Experiencing all of my healing abilities. Yes, totally. Okay. So I want to creating my own life and deepening other areas than relationships, being super independent. Love it. Perfect. Okay. So I want you guys to turn to your journals real quick and just jot down where in what you're looking to call more into your life. How are you feeling unworthy? And remember that unworthiness can show up as shame, which means I'm a bad person. Like for me, I have huge programming that says desiring more money makes me a bad person. Having nice things makes me a bad person. Like that's just comes through my family line, right? So really ask yourself, like, what would it mean to have those things? And do you have any of these judgments? Because judgments are also what are really typically at the root of blocking our worthiness. So what are your judgments against the things that you desire, or against maybe the people who you see who already have them? They may or may not be there. Where is there any shame? Is there, if I do this, I might actually be a bad person if I do this? And is there any guilt? And guilt is guilt says I did a bad thing. Shame says I am a bad thing. So just take 5 minutes. It's 12:13 here, East Coast time. I'll give you 7 minutes. We'll go to 12:20. And just jot down what's coming through in terms of your blocks. And I'm going to give you guys a little music here. So you put in the chat box what you're journaling on here. guys can take like just one more minute here. Now, as you're wrapping up here, can you guys hear me okay with the music? Yeah. Okay. As you're wrapping up here, I want you to just close your eyes for a moment. And just take a couple deep breaths. And I want you to feel in your body where that unworthiness may be living, where your body's holding it. Where that shame, guilt, unworthiness. So really feel into those things, those blocks. Think about them, maybe say them in your mind, and feel, where does that live in my body? We'll just take a minute to do this together. Once you feel you've kind of established that in your body where it's living, take a couple deep breaths. And then when you're ready, you can start to open your eyes and come back to the room. And so you may or may not have felt that in your body. If you've been kind of practicing embodiment work, practicing feeling, you may have gotten it, or you may not. So remember that the sacral chakra is our center of feeling. So it's about emotions and feeling emotions. But a piece I think we also miss about emotions is that emotions come from the body. They don't actually come from the mind. And the sacral chakra is a big generator of emotions. So there's different centers that generate different feelings. Like typically, most people say the liver generates anger, the heart generates love, right? Well, the sacral chakra generates worthiness and abundance. And so that doesn't necessarily mean where you feel like you're holding the imbalance is in the sacral. When I sat into that, I felt some in kind of more like in my stomach, like solar plexus. I felt some in my heart. I felt some in the sacral, kind of like sinking into the root chakra. And I felt some that were actually not in my body, that actually felt like outside energy was interfering with my ability to tap into like, what would it feel like if I actually did all the things that I said I wanted to do? There was this sense of like freedom and like being able to just like run and jump and leap. But then there was like this thing holding me down where like I couldn't quite get there and go free. So in my mind, when I see imagery like that, that tells me there's actually an external energy that is interfering with me moving forward. So in the chat box, you guys share what were the primary blocks, the primary sources of unworthiness that came up for you that you feel like maybe a component of what is blocking you from really accepting and receiving the things that at the beginning you said that you desire. And then after, so we're exploring the negative pole here of the sacral. And I like to go into the negative pole first, because from the negative pole is where you really generate your power and your desire to move you into the positive pole. So it's like, okay, where is my positive pole? Like, what do I want to get to? Which is what we did at the beginning. And then we dig into like, and we're doing a shallow dive into this, but sometimes an easy shallow dive is like exactly what you need. Like there's just some surface stuff you need to get to, where this may have gone really deep for you. We work in that negative pole and that little bit of shadow work, like what really is inside that's holding me back. And then from there, we can clear and move into that positive pole and like actually take a step forward energetically and sometimes physically, literally, like I know the next thing I need to do now to move forward. We can do that and then move into that positive pole. Okay, so you guys are sharing. Fear I will go the wrong way and waste time. Yes. This is my favorite part of doing these workshops and why I also don't over plan, because I'd love to chat about what's coming up for you guys. So I think these fears, and as I've gone through this journey myself, and I've gone through it in sisterhood with a lot of other women. My sister is an entrepreneur as well. Everyone has the same stories. Like I've never read a thing and gone like, oh, wow, that's totally unique. It's like, no, I have that. I still have that. I've worked with that. That's getting better. That one I need to work on more. So it's just one thing I can do for you guys is just normalize this stuff. Like the fear that you'll take the wrong track and you'll waste time. Everyone is going to put something out there. Like I put out a course once and nobody signed up. And so like, did I waste a lot of time? Did I waste a lot of money? Did I waste a lot of energy? It doesn't matter. You just go, that wasn't aligned. Why didn't that work out? And I can tell you, for me, when I put that particular course out, I wasn't really grounded into the outcomes for my clients. I had ideas, but I wasn't like, what is this going to do for them? How is this going to move them powerfully? And it was earlier in my journey. And so I look back at that and I don't look at it as a bad thing or a waste of time. It was teaching me, it was guiding me, and it was showing me where I needed to pivot. I actually wasn't ready to teach that course yet. I taught that course in over the summer, and it was amazing and awesome and so powerful. And so I just wasn't ready for it yet. So it wasn't a waste of time. It was just a learning moment. So that's one, start to work through that. And any entrepreneur, like we're spiritual entrepreneurs, right? But anyone who puts something big out there is going to find things that worked and things that didn't work so well. And just because a thing didn't work doesn't mean you're not worthy and doesn't mean you don't get to have it. It just means you need to pivot a little bit. And that's the really cool thing too about having your own business and acting as an entrepreneur, is that you can pivot whenever you want to. Like I've made a massive, massive pivot in the last year, and it has done nothing but propel my business, my income, my sense of worthiness, my joy forwards. And so you're constantly going to want to be like pivoting and shifting. So there is no wasted time or there is no wrong moves. There's just experimentation and learning and pivoting. So this is one way to start to shift perspective and again, normalize this process that we're kind of all experimenting. I have a friend whose business, she's probably doing she did $225,000 last year in revenue. She's probably doing about $450 this year. And she just had a course and 2 people signed up for it. And she was like, I show up with the same enthusiasm as if 30 people signed up for it. Like, it doesn't mean it was wrong. It's just, that's just how it is. And so this is happening at every level, whether this is the first thing you put out or the 100th thing you put out, it's going to happen. And you just go, okay, this is what it is. Now there's more pressure when it's early on, and perhaps there's like income goals that you need to hit. But yeah, I would say it's never a waste of time. Okay. Ashina's blocks: lacking confidence, imposter syndrome, comparing myself to others. Yes. So this is also a thing you're going to hit at each level of your business. So when you start out offering single sessions for like $100, $150, when you start out, or $50, when you start out offering group courses at $100, or I think my first group course was $99. You have to push through this level of like, oh my gosh, can I do this? Are people going to pay? What's the deal? And then you offer a course at 1,000, and then 2,000, and then 15, and then, and so each time you're going to have to work through this. So each time you have to face those fears and those wounds that say you're not good enough. And that's very much part of the unworthiness place, right? Like, this is really good stuff. Well, I see someone else doing it, but they must be better than me. Or I have a desire to teach on this. Like, I love this information. I feel as passionate about it, but I don't really know enough because someone else knows a lot more than me. So somebody said to me recently, they were like, you know so much about so many things, because I talk about crystals and I talk about essential oils and I talk about a lot of things, but like, I don't know everything about essential oils. I don't know everything about crystals by any means. I just talk about and share what I know and what works for me. And when you're sharing from a place of authenticity through your own life experience, that's what people really want. We're moving more and more into this space where nobody gives a crap about certifications. I had so many credentials. I had 5 credential letters after my name at one point. And I was chasing them, and I was like, yes, I get to put all these letters. Like, now I don't put anything behind my name. I might put 1 or 2 things, but nobody cares. Like, nobody cares. Like, nobody cares if you have all these degrees and all this training, all these hours. They want to know, like, have you been through it and made it out the other side? That's what people want to know. They want a guide. They don't want a guru who just preaches from up high on a pedestal. They want someone who's been down in the mud and made their way out, rinsed off, and climbed the mountain. That's what they want. So if you've been through it, you can teach on it. That is what you're going to be the most powerful at teaching on. So nobody can teach better on anything than what you've personally been through. So I always say, keep your story and keep the things that get you most excited and you most fired up about front of mind. I think some of you guys probably found me through a recent reel or TikTok video that I did sharing my story about my divorce last year and all the financial hardship that came through it. And like, that's been my most popular piece that I've put out lately. And I put out a fair amount of content on social media, not a crazy amount, but enough. And it's the simplest, I think it's 30 seconds. And I got a tremendous amount of feedback because that's like my real, raw, authentic story. And so people don't care if I'm a relationship expert or have all this education and money, right? Like, I did the hard things. I left a marriage. I had very little. I had $23,000 on credit cards. And I found this little house that I'm in right now that I was in love with. It was way out of my price range, and I rented it anyway. And within 6 months of all of that happening, my business hit 6 figures last year for the first time in a calendar year. And then 6 months after that, I paid all $23,000 off of my credit cards. So, and how did I do that? Through this inner work. That's the only way. Like, people in my family be like, how did you do it? And I'm like, well, meditation, crystals, shadow work, like sound healing, a lot of crying, journaling. And they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, this is not a structure, strategy, masculine thing. This is this is divine feminine healing. And a lot of it is sacral work. So you don't have to be an expert. You just have to have a powerful story of transformation. That's what people want. And the more you are grounded into your own truth, the more powerful you will be at helping other people shift energy. And that's what we do as coaches, as teachers, as teachers in school, as partners and spouses, as parents. what you really are doing is helping people shift energy. That's all you're doing. So if you have done it yourself and you've made it out, you can help other people. So yeah, the comparison thing still happens. I catch myself doing it sometimes, but then I just remember that we're all exactly where we need to be on our journey, and we're all at different stages, and we're all working through different lessons. So my journey will never be the same as someone else's. And often when we're comparing, we're looking at the best case scenario for someone else, and we really don't know what's going on deeper underneath. So everybody's got their own demons. So that comparison thing is a really easy trap, but comparison also says that we're different. And this was part of, I jotted a couple notes down just to like, oh, where am I with this? Comparison says we're different. And so if we think we're different than people who have something that we desire, who have something that inspires us, but we think we're different than them, we're lesser, there's a scale, then we've automatically put ourselves lower. When you can look at someone and say, wow, look what they're doing, I really like that, and I want pieces of that. I desire a path to whatever that person holds, right? I deserve to have the same thing as them. Then they start to become inspiration rather than comparison. So this is again a way where you can start to shift your thinking from comparison to inspiration. Okay, I see money as dirty. People lie, cheat, and steal who have money, and I see myself as an honest person. Totally. So this is a space where we've all been programmed to believe that money is bad. And I mean, I can remember myself growing up because you know, I have family that like lives on welfare and, you know, they struggle. They really struggle financially. There's a tremendous amount of judgment that I learned from that part of the family towards people who have money. And there's this feeling that like their life is easy because they have money. This is separation, right? This is judgment, comparison, creating difference. And so there was always this like, well, people who have money are different than me. And you have to ask, also question, well, does everyone who has money, did they all cheat? Did they all steal it? Did they all lie? Most of them probably did it. Some of them, but most of people are good people. There's only there's a small percentage of people who are really living in very terrible, dark energy, and they're doing a lot of bad things. But I would say 90% of the population is very loving and joyful and kind and just like us, right? Whether they've got $1 or $100 million. So that's definitely, I used to really hold this, like, there's a difference, you know, I'm different and they are potentially bad. So yeah, so challenge yourself around those beliefs, and think about the person you personally know who has the most money. Are they a liar? Are they a cheater? Are they a stealer? Probably not, or you probably wouldn't spend time with them, right? So the idea that money is bad is real programming that actually keeps people at lower levels of income, keeps people in poverty. Because when you say something's bad and the people who have it are bad, you're automatically deflecting it, right? So you've got to start to say, like, having money is amazing. Having money allows me to spoil people, to support people, to make donations to people in need. Having money makes me even more honest. Having money allows me to be even more generous. Having money allows me all the good things about you, right? So to be more loving. It allows me more freedom so I can give more. So starting to reprogram those thoughts around money, because that's a huge block, right? If you're projecting all that negative energy on money, it's going to be hard to bring it to you, right? Our negative energy is repelling. It's repellent. Our positive energy is attractive. So we want to be in the positive as much as possible so we can be attracting. And when you catch yourself with these thoughts, it's just a shift. So when you go, oh, that person has a lot of money, they must be a liar and a cheater, you say something like, I see how friendly that person is. I see what a nice aura they have. I see how they just said hello to me and genuinely looked me in the eye and made me feel warm and fuzzy. I start to reprogram my beliefs there. Okay, family patterned. I noticed it's a rule not to make too much money or you are bad. Yeah, same kind of topic, right? And if you don't make any money, you are bad because you have to work hard to deserve it. Yeah, so we have a lot of jacked up programming around money. And so we have to start to look at these things that money is just an energy, it's just a frequency. And so if you get into a frequency that attracts more of it, it will come to you regardless of what you do. If you're in a lower frequency with it, you're going to block it. And so this is just the process of really conscious self-observation. I call it radically honest self-observation, where you watch and listen to every single thought and you go like, ooh, listen to all the negative stories I'm telling myself about money. Like, no wonder money's not coming here. Like if you were trying to attract a partner and you were like, oh, let's just use men as an example. All men are jerks and they're messy and they're disgusting and they're lazy. Are you going to attract a man who's honest and loving and caring and generous? Nope. So it's the same thing with money. It's easier for us to understand this because in relationships, we're used to interaction and we're used to relationship dynamics, but an energy exchange, right? But this exact same thing is happening with money, whether you're holding it in your hand or whether it's just a number on a screen. We are projecting a frequency, and so money is returning that frequency. It's just not as tangible as a human showing up in front of us. So think about your relationship with money like your relationship with a person. If you're constantly saying like, well, you don't get to have money unless you work really hard for it, guess what? You're going to be working really hard and not making that much. If you start saying, I get to work less and make more, the less I work, the more I make, that's the frequency that I'm in. I'm just going to keep working less and less and making more and more money. But the work I'm going to do is going to be of greater and greater quality. So it is about this energy exchange, this relationship with money. So start talking to your money in a different way. I love you, money. Thank you for showing up. When I send you out, I invite you to come back in multitude. Little things you can really start to do to start affirming a different relationship with money. Lack of trust about safety, having to protect my heart, not safe to put myself out there to the world. So this is very much a sacral, and so these wounds are overlapping, right? So this can very much be a sacral chakra wound. This can be a root chakra. It can also be a heart chakra wound. So we've either had experiences where putting our genuine authenticity out there was rejected, shamed, guilted in some way. And we have all had that experience. Everybody's had a comment about their clothes or a comment about their makeup or any kind of rude comment or unwanted attention, right? And we've all had breakups and heartbreak and all those things. So the thing to come back to is that we have to start cultivating an inner world that feels really good. So when you say my heart is open and worthy to the right energy, I am discerning about who I open myself up to, but I am ready and available to the energy that is going to match my frequency. Like I would never come out and talk like this at a family party, ever, right? I would never go into these topics. Even when people ask me questions, I give them like the one-liner. And I'm like, oh, if you're curious, go follow my Instagram or go like, it's not a safe space. So you've got to, so there's this principle of vulnerability out there. You have to put yourself out there and be vulnerable. The definition of vulnerability is opening yourself up in a place that's not safe. Do not be vulnerable. I'm like, no vulnerability. Open yourself up in spaces that are safe, where it just naturally happens. And you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm doing this, but I can't stop it because you're in a safe vibration and in a safe space. So there's this practice of becoming safe within yourself, of being able to write down all the things that you guys are writing down and getting really radically honest about what's the inner dialogue, what's the inner story, what are the inner feelings, how's my body reacting when I say this stuff. And so cultivating this inner sense of safety, security, this inner sense of like you are able to powerfully protect yourself regardless of the external circumstances, that starts to be cultivated from within, and that's a practice. Where did I do some of this work recently? I was when my marriage was ending and I was like starting to put myself out there to date again, and there was all the loneliness, right? And it was like, I want this in a partner, I want that in a partner, this and this and this and that. And then at some point I was like, wait, you're trying to feel into what this other person feels like. You need to feel into what you feel like. Like, what does it feel like to be with you? And so when I started to tap in and feel like, oh, what does it feel like to date me? I was like, whoa, girl, this feels really good. Like, damn, like if somebody wants this, like they better be matching it. They better feel like that inside themselves too. So this cultivating this inner world is really what's key. So feeling into what you feel like is such an important part of this healing. And it's really important for the sacral, because this is our emotional center. It's our feeling center. And it's also our center for clairsentience. So clairsentience is, as empaths, or everyone has a level of empathy, right? Some people just identify with the label. Clairsentience is your ability to feel other people's energy fields. Some people say, oh, you feel other people's emotions and whatever. You're feeling somebody's energy field, because sometimes someone's in a particular emotion, but I'm feeling like what's behind that. So this is your ability to tap into your empathy and to tap into your clairsentience, which is a powerful, powerful place of discernment. Because when you start to touch an energy field and you go like, that does not feel good. I don't want it. It looks really pretty on the surface, but I don't want it. That's a really powerful place to be, where you're no longer making decisions from a space of just intellect. You're making decisions from your body's wisdom. So this is a whole tool of sensory perception that we have been taught to ignore. We've really been taught to ignore our body signals and our body cues through dieting, through hustle, through being in school and only being allowed to go to the bathroom and eat when someone else says it's time. We've really been taught to ignore our body cues. So that's a process of coming back to that as well. That's very much sacral chakra work. So blocks for Terry: external energies, fear of loss, like whatever I achieve, I will lose. 100% had that. I had this massive, massive fear that I was going to hit six figures and then it was all going to come crashing down. And what I recognized was that was not mine. I had seen my parents grow a business and then they lost it. And I understand why they lost it. And I'm not repeating that pattern. So that for me came from a direct personal experience where the family was like, oh shit, how are we going to pay our bills? And they tried to kind of protect me from that because I was young, but I knew what was going. I was way too empathic from birth to not know what was going on. So yeah, that's a very real fear. And that's another one, just start reprogramming that when you get into a frequency, there's going to be stability, right? When you do enough shadow work and you release enough of what holds you back and you really, really step into and embody a level of worthiness and of your own self-empowerment, nothing can take you out of that. There might be dips where you need to be like, that didn't really work. I need to pivot, but you're never going, it's never going to crash and burn when you're in this level of vibration, when you're in this level of conscious awareness, and when you're in this energy of service and you're in this energy of expansion. You're never going to, and if something happened, you just rebuild. You just start from scratch. Like if your house burns down, you don't live in the ashes, you build a new one, right? You've got insurance policies for that kind of thing. Like you've got energetic insurance policies as well when you are working from a place of service. Blocks are what will people think, and also my ability to create, fertility and fear of loss. Totally, these are all sacral chakra issues. So what will other people think is sacral? It also gets into solar plexus, because if our solar plexus is not backing up our sacral, our solar plexus is our center of personal empowerment. So if we've got this great idea and we want to birth it and bring it to fruition, but our personal power is off, that's going to be a block too. So this is really sacral and solar plexus, but fertility is very tied to the sacral chakra because it's connected to the ovaries, the womb. It's tied to all the sexual organs. It's tied to creation, not just like, yeah, I made a beautiful art project or I'm an artist. It's really creation of human life. So really work into these worthiness issues. You know, is there a worthiness issue around fertility? There may not be, but this is what's pinging through right now, especially as we're on this topic. And also the sacral chakra connects to the higher chakras through surrender. Because if we're trying to, this is the balance of the masculine, feminine also comes through the sacral. If we're in a space of force, which is an overuse of the masculine energy, which is what we have all been raised in, because we were all in a very patriarchal society, and we're not listening, we're not being in stillness, we're not being in softness, we're not being in flow, then we create this massive, massive resistance through the overuse of the masculine. And so sometimes it's about literally stopping and giving up everything that you have so focused on, and there's so much pressure and there's so much tension, and right? And you have to just be like, I drop everything and I just lay in my bed, or I float in the ocean, or I go spend 2 nights in an Airbnb by myself, and you just feel like, take away all the distraction, all the noise, so you can get back to feeling, because that's really super key there. So yes, and that fear of loss, we're going to tap into that next week when we do the root chakra and the scarcity wound. So stay tuned for that one. So much parental family programming that I'm realizing I can just step out of. Yeah, I feel like I'm really just starting to scratch the surface of worthiness. Yes, so a lot of it is just being like, well, somebody just told me this. Why did I believe it? I mean, they've been telling me it since I was 3 years old, and I have 4 years old and have memory, right? But you can just choose a new story at any time. Like, you can just start to choose a new story, and you have to tell yourself that story like over and over, but you get to pick a new story. I put myself out there and share my truth. I healed using medical medium info, and now I'm trying to help others. I know a lot of people follow me and often tell me they love what I'm doing, but I'm not getting the clients. I'm not sure what that missing piece is. Yeah, so with the business, so my approach is like different, right? Because most people are focusing on structure and strategy. And that is important. I would say for me, that's about 25%, but 75% is the energy. And so yeah, my approach would be like, okay, what is the structure and strategy? How is it working? Are you really putting it out there and saying, hey, I'm doing this thing. This is who needs to come. This is why you need it. Like, go sign up. Like, there's a level of soulful sales that I have just learned to do in the last 2 years, that has really changed everything. Because I think sometimes we're afraid to bother people, and we don't want to like really sell, right? Because because we're used to really terrible sales. Let's put it that way. We're used to car salesmen. I just got a new cell phone. Oh my gosh, like the sleaziness going on there. Like, oh, it's this price and it's that price and it's this price. And then I got a $260 bill, and I have to go back and be like, what? You told me it's me $112. Like, what is going on here, right? So we're used to like really slimy sales. So sales feels like you're like, ugh, sales, right? But when you're selling as a spiritual entrepreneur, you are offering people an ability to change their lives. And so the dollar amount you put on that depends on a lot of things. How much energy are they getting from you? Not just time, but energy. What is your experience? What is your level of confidence? What, there's a lot of pieces that go into that, but I think one thing that a lot of us miss as spiritual entrepreneurs is we don't just come out there and say, go buy this thing because this is what it's going to do for you. We kind of like share and we share and we share and we share, but we don't say, here's how you get more of this. So that just comes through as like, that was my biggest missing piece. I would just like put all this stuff out there, and I would just sit and wait. Like wait for somebody finally signed up on my website. Like, and when I finally went out there and started saying like, hey, this is what I do, come and get it. Like, I've got 3 spots open. Then I started to get a lot more sales. Because sometimes people are following you and they don't even know that you're offering services. They love your work, but they don't even know how they can work with you. So it's it's soulful sharing of how you can help people. I don't think of it as sales. It's like letting people know this is what you do. I'm so far behind on the comments, but does anybody feel safe right now? Yay! Yes. Yes to safe space. And that's like one of my specialties, like, because I have cultivated such a safe space within myself to go to the depth of any issue. And I still have that moment where I'm like, oh, I don't feel like dealing with this. Can't this just go away? But because I've cultivated such a safe space in myself where I've gone so deep and I can go so deep, I can hold that space for other people. Like, it doesn't scare me. Like, it's really not much people can bring to me that's going to scare me. Like, I'm ready for you guys to totally open. And so that's part of my gift, and that's been my practice, and that's been my space of learning. And that's an inherent natural gift of my, I don't even like to use the word gifts because we all hold these, but that's an inherent strength for me. As an earth sign, we're very good at, we just are naturally more grounded. We're good at holding space. So that's inherently within me to be that way. And then I have practiced and practiced and practiced and really cultivated a craft of it. And so, and I've also spent a shitload of time working through non-judgment, because I grew up in a very judgmental household and I had a tremendous amount of judgment for myself. And so as I have worked through, so people probably think like, you're not judgmental. You're like one of the least judgmental people I know. It's because I practiced. It's not because I was born this way. Or maybe I was born this way, but I got a lot of crappy programming around that. And we all have. And so non-judgment for me is a learned practice. And so that's what creates safe spaces. Okay, so that went longer than I thought, but I loved it. Thank you guys for sharing your honesty there. Let's talk quick about what it feels like to be in flow with the sacral and to be in a balanced sacral chakra. Because when the sacral chakra is really shut down, our ability to receive is blocked. Like, we literally have the walls up and we're like, don't come in. I don't want you. It's bad. We're like totally in the negative. The sacral chakra can also be overactive when we're out there like seeking and we're desperate and we're needy and we're like, somebody please, come on, give me. Someone, an older gentleman that I've worked with, he's a riding instructor, sent me a text message like, I really need to talk to you. I'm having a really hard time. And I was like, with your needy, like yucky feeling energy. Like, you were my riding coach. I'm not your coach. Like, don't be coming over here like to steal. Like, it's a very energy sucking feeling. So like, I do not respond. I do not owe you anything. So that's an overactive sacral chakra that's feeling very needy and very like wants to suck all the energy out of you. So so a balanced sacral chakra is going to feel like when you're in your creative expression, when you're in your flow. Like, I'm pretty in my flow right now, right? Like, I've got some notes, but we're like just riffing and going with what's coming up. And that's where I do my best work. And that's what I've learned to embrace. I used to spend days and weeks crafting PowerPoint presentations. Oh my gosh, you guys, like it. And now I don't do any of that because it doesn't feel good to me. And this feels good and this works better for me. And it's kind of like, I don't know. Some people would say like, oh my gosh, how do you do that? Isn't that dangerous? Like, no, I know how to flow. I know how to feel the information and let it come through. And so that's what I do. And that's what I've practiced. So that's really when you're in your creative expression. My creative expression is primarily through my voice. So that's why doing stuff like this is so good and fun for me, because it flows for me. A balanced sacral chakra means you're going to be in touch with pleasure. Like, things are going to feel good. Like, cleaning the toilet is going to feel good because you've got music on. You're like, yes, the house is getting all clean. I love it when the house is clean, right? You can clean the toilet and be in that space. Or you can clean the toilet and be like, I hate this. This is disgusting. Why do I have to do this? Blah, blah. Same exact situation, totally different vibration. So ask for more pleasure in your life, right? And pleasure comes in many different forms. So ask for it in your relationships, in your everyday tasks, in your sexual energy, in your creative energy, in grocery shopping. Like, ask for more pleasure everywhere. You get to have it. You get to share and express your feelings in a healthy way and feel this interconnectedness even when you are alone. And that taps into the higher chakras too, but there is this interconnectedness that even when you're by yourself, you have these healthy relationships where you were able to freely express yourself. At any point in time, you can just be like, hey, can I run this by you? And then the person's going to give you, like, hold space for you and give you honest feedback. That comes through working through your own sacral chakra and attracting those relationships. Being in a balanced sacral chakra also feels like being at peace with your abundance. And this means it doesn't matter what number shows up on your bank account, you feel abundant. And this is one that can be, I should do probably a whole workshop on this one, but this is one that really comes from trust and really comes from this knowingness that you are a powerful creator. And so whatever's there is just a moment in time. And in a week, a month, a year, that number could be completely different. And it's going to be more, a lot more, right? That's all you have to stay in the frequency of. Easier said than done, right? I get it. I have been through the money story, but that's what abundance feels like. And abundance is not just about money. It's about an abundance of support, an abundance of connection, an abundance of love, all those things. The balanced sacral chakra also feels like a connection to your clairsentience. So you can feel your body and you're able to listen to what it's telling you. You're able to tap into that body wisdom. So I want to do one last thing. We're kind of at time, but I should have made it an hour and 15 minutes. I don't know why I thought I could do it in an hour, but I want to leave you with one action step forward that's going to help you lock into this balanced, good feeling sacral chakra. So we're just going to do a quick 5-minute meditation, and I'm going to invite you ladies to close your eyes and take a deep breath. Roll your shoulders back. Open your body into an expansive pose, right? We all get shrunk down with shoulders closed and our abdomens caved. I want you to really open and expand. Roll the shoulders, stretch them back. And breathe deep into the belly and see if you can get that breath all the way down into the sacral chakra, below the belly button. Breathing it down deep, deep, deep. And just feeling how through the breath you can create this expansion almost down into your pelvis. And as you breathe deep, sending some attention and focus down to that sacral chakra. Continuing to breathe into it as you draw your attention into the center of your head, connecting to that pineal gland right between the ears. And I want you to go ahead and place both hands over the sacral chakra, over the womb. And just setting the intention that any energy held in that sacral chakra that is no longer serving your highest good is going to begin to drain out the back of it. And it's going to go down this grounding cord that connects to the base of your spine. Goes all the way down deep, deep, deep into the core of the earth. And it connects to a crystal associated with the root chakra. So you could choose an orange stone, like orange tourmaline, moonstone, carnelian, or any other stone that applies, but those are good sacral chakra stones. So wrap that grounding cord around that stone at the core of the earth. And we are anchoring into the wisdom and frequency of Mother Earth, who is the sacral chakra, who is the creator of all life on earth. And again, breathing in deeply through the nose, all the way down into the pelvis, expanding that abdominal floor, expanding that abdominal cavity. And as you exhale, sending that energy stored in the sacral chakra that no longer needs to stay there, and allowing it to flow out the back of that sacral chakra down the grounding cord. And we will ask Mother Earth to transmute any energies of unworthiness, any energies of shame, of guilt, transmuting any energies of fear about our authenticity, transmuting any blocks to our abundance, helping us to let go of any stories about money, also helping us to release any programming from the collective of humanity, and releasing the generational patterns and wounds that have been passed down to us. And then we'll begin to open the chakras at the soles of the feet and begin to pull in golden energy from Mother Earth up through the feet and the ankles, the calves, the knees, pulling that beautiful golden earth energy all the way up through the legs and running it up the front of the body into the front of that sacral chakra, out the back of it and down the grounding cord. And we're asking that this beautiful golden earth energy is going to balance our sacral chakra, bringing us into this sense of harmony with our emotions, a balanced ability to tap in and feel our body, to fully connect to our clairsentience, to bring forth divine inspiration and creativity through the sacral, to help us access greater levels of pleasure and joy. We'll ask that this energy take us one step forward towards manifesting our goals that we all set at the beginning of this call. We'll ask that any boundaries, any restrictions, any limiting beliefs are just gently moved out of the way as we begin to confidently and securely step forward on our life path, our soul mission, powerfully guided by our intuition, our clairsentience, and our body cues. And again, breathing in through the nose, deep into the abdomen, deep into the pelvis. And exhaling. Take 2 more deep breaths there. And when you're ready, beginning to come back to the room, beginning to move your body in a way that helps to wake you back up. And when you're ready, opening your eyes. How do you guys feel? So just pop in the chat box. Let me know how you feel. This is like a very quick glimpse into the work that I do, right? This was like a macrocosm of 6 months to a year of work brought down to like, boop, what can we shift in an hour and 15 minutes? Because I can't keep thinking of it. Yes, go for a walk in nature. Yay, excited and supported. Yeah, this is just a glimpse of what I do. So we're going to do this again next week on Monday, working with the root chakra and really tapping into that scarcity or fear of lack wound, because that's a huge one that also blocks us, because that root wound is there's not enough. The sacral wound is I am not enough, right? But the root wound is there's not enough out there externally outside of me. And so again, that comes back to that cultivating that sense of security and abundance within, so that we recognize the power of our ability to create, so that no matter what's happening external, we feel completely taken care of and fulfilled. So that will be next Monday at, I think, 2. If you signed up for this one, I believe you also signed up for the next week one automatically. So you'll have emails for that. And then if you guys are interested in going like really deep into this work, my Abundant Ascension Business Mastermind is also open. And that is a year-long journey of this work where we, like I said, for me, business is 25% structure and strategy, the masculine energy, and it's 75% inner healing work, energy work, really getting out of your blocks, really stepping into the honest and powerful truth of who you are. And I did a short video recently, and it was about essentially how most of us are really afraid of our own power. And, you know, I would have heard that years ago and been like, yeah, okay, whatever. I'm not afraid of my power. Like, I want it all. I want the clients, I want the business, I want the money, I want the house, I want the partner, I want all the things. But what we have to recognize is that most of us are operating out of our power and out of our alignment. And when we, you're very welcome, everyone. When we really tap into our power and our truth, shit in our life is gonna change. Like, when people sign on to these bigger masterminds with me, like, there's moves that happen. There are real major relationship changes that happen. There are major money changes that happen. There are serious boundaries set. There are relationships that shift and change. And so you have to be ready for that. You have to want that. And so when I really, really got serious about doing this work 2 years ago, I did not know that my marriage was going to end, but my marriage ended as a result of this work, because I really started to step into my power. I really started to listen to my body. I really started to get tapped in. And I was in a relationship that was really blocking me. It was really unsupportive. And it wasn't like a horrible relationship. I wasn't being like abused or anything, but it was really out of alignment because I had really become a new version of myself. And so it's the kind of thing, like, it's these masterminds are for people who are really serious about having a different life and about coming out of that year together as a new version of yourself. And I continue to recreate myself pretty regularly. Like, I did a huge, big year-long mastermind, and then I took about 6 months and I worked on my own and I did my stuff. And I got to the point in August and I was like, yeah, I'm not feeling enough forward movement here. Like, I want to continue to move in a quantum shifts, in big steps and leaps. Like, I don't want to just like crawl. I want to run the marathon. And so I signed up for, you know, another round of coaching for myself, because I'm like, this is what I want and what I need. So there's this real power in, and I feel those shifts coming. I just signed up August and I started in September. So I've been a month in, and I'm like, ooh, like, I feel things shifting, and I'm like, okay, here we go. Like, I call it the slingshot. Like, when you get kind of pulled back and you're held and you're like in wait, but the longer you wait and the further back you go, the bigger leap you get to take. So yeah, so this is the program that is for those who are like really committed to, like, I will do whatever it takes to get this business off the ground. I will do whatever it takes to really dramatically change my life, to heal my body, to really tap into the power and the potential that I hold within. And the power and possibility is so exciting and also a bit scary for me right now. 100%. It's terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying, but you kind of get used to it. And that fear can pretty quickly transfer into excitement. They're very close energetically. So if you can start to see fear as excitement when you like when you're taking these steps forward, it's a really powerful place to be. And what I will also say is that when you are doing this work in communion with other women, this also creates a massive quantum shift forward. And it's why I started to shift from one-to-one to groups. So yes, from a structure and strategy perspective, working in groups is more profitable because in less hours, you're reaching more people, right? But I didn't do groups because I was like, oh yeah, this is how I'm going to make more money. The two happen together. Because when I find a strategy that is powerful, that I've worked for me. Oh, I'm going to use this. I'm going to put this out there for everyone, for my people too. So doing this work in group is so powerful because there is this bond that is created, and there is this support system that goes far beyond just the year that you spend together. And it goes far beyond, like, some of you have seen some of my pictures. The retreats come with this. There's 2-week weekend, and then there's a full on like or I'll probably make it a 5-day retreat because I want more. It's more fun that way. So, and a lot of it looks really glamorous, and like we take beautiful photos and we go on adventures, but there's deep, deep, intense healing work that happens as well. And it's powerful, but it also gets to be really fun. There's pleasure involved too, right? It's not just like a torturous experience. Like, it goes deep, but you have all this support, you have all this love, and you have safe space. And so you get to be in your authenticity. And the more you're in your authenticity, the more you start to call your power back. And the more you start to reclaim energy that you have leaked to the future or lost to the past. And you start to bring it in present time. And then I'm getting like chills and tingles all over my body as I say this. That's when you start to become divinely guided, and you don't need a script, and you don't need credentials, and you don't need someone to tell you it's okay to do it this way. You just start doing shit your way. And that's when you're really tapped into your power. And that's when the fear goes away too. And the fear is going to pop back. There's always fear to work through, but that's when you start to know, like you are doing your soul's work and your soul's mission. And so it doesn't matter what happens on the outside. It doesn't matter if I go through a divorce. It doesn't matter if I go bankrupt. It doesn't matter if I don't know, like lose something I'm grossly attached to, right? Like, it doesn't matter, because when you're doing your soul's work, you are energetically supported. And when you're really following your intuition and your guidance, those things are not going to happen to you. There may be rough patches, right? It's not all smooth sailing. It's 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. But I have to tell you, in the last year, I have felt so, almost a year and a half, right? With all this COVID stuff, I have felt so protected. Like, I can't even explain it. Like, COVID happened, my business boomed. My lifestyle was pretty much the same. Like, no, I wasn't like going out to eat and stuff anymore for a period of time, right? But like, my lifestyle pretty much stayed the same. I dated during COVID, and like, it was fine, right? Like, because I trusted that I was being guided to safe places and safe people, right? In my state, I'm really off on a tangent here, and you guys stay as long as you want, but my state just came through with mandates that you have to be vaccinated as a healthcare practitioner. And I am a licensed healthcare practitioner in Rhode Island. And that's not a decision that I want to make. And I think everyone can make their own decision about whether they want to get vaccinated or not. But I personally do not want to be coerced into that to keep my license. So I'm giving up my license in the state of Rhode Island. And it's not really going to affect me. Like, I feel so protected and so guided. And I just keep trusting and having faith and going forward with what lights my body up. Like, I wanted to get this house. It was $800 over my budget a month. And I was like, but this is my house. Like, this is my house. And so I got it. And I don't even know why they rented it to me, but apparently I put together a good enough story. And never once have I been at the point where I was like, oh my gosh, am I going to be able to pay my rent? Not even close, not at all. So I just know when like my body tells me it's a yes, I just do it. And I don't question it. I'm going to Costa Rica for 10 days in December. If you guys know Sister Shanti, I'm going to her roundtable weekend. There's a million reasons why I shouldn't go do that, right? Like international travel during COVID, which is just life now, right? Being away from my daughter for 12 days. She's 4.5. It's a really long time. Like, I had to really sit with that decision, but my whole body, and then the money, right? It's a lot of money. Like, it's $5,000 or $6,000 it's going to cost me. So there's a lot of reasons not to go, but my whole body is screaming to me, you need to be there. You need to be in that space. You need to be in that room. You need to be in that energy. That is going to be a before version of you and an after version of you. So I'm going, right? Like, so this is the energy that I play in, and this is the energy I'm teaching other people to play in, where nothing stops you and nothing holds you back. And you don't let outside influence take away your drive and your fire and your move forwards. And so, and this is like, this is why, you know, awakened, spiritual, wealthy women are dangerous, because we're going to make moves. My ultimate goal with my business is to grow it to a point where I can create a nonprofit, or I can create a community center, and I can really give back to people who could never access my services. So so that money story comes in, like, well, is it okay for me to amass to create $1 million a year business? Like, is that okay? But yes, because it is in the energy of service, because my goal is to give so much of that back, to create retreats for women who don't have $1 to go on retreats, right? To open up a retreat center and make it free for 2 weeks out of the year for underserved women, or for, you know, LGBTQ community, like whoever becomes my area that I am drawn to serve, they can come for free and experience energy healing, and experience herbs, and experience community with women. Like, that's the ultimate dream. And it takes a lot of money to do that. And so that's why I have had to work through all my money issues and fears to get to that place. So this is what I do. This is what I teach. And do I have credentials and all these things anymore? Nope. I used to be a nutritionist. Now I am a spiritual life coach, energy healer, ascension mentor, spiritual business coach, because my mission is also to really empower women to be able to create lives like this for themselves, where they have freedom, where they have lots of money, where they can do their service work, where they can reach tons of other people, whoever they are meant to serve, and help heal them. Because that's how we heal the whole human collective, and that's how we change the whole world. So my dream is really big. I'm a Capricorn. This makes perfect sense for me. Not everybody's dream needs to be that big, but if you hear dreams like that and you think, oh, wow, I want to do that, know that if there's any part of you that gets a little lit up by that, you have the capacity and the potential for it as well. And that may be a calling for you. And so my strategy is I put myself in rooms with women who are doing really big things that I want to do. I go to Gabby Bernstein events. I go to all the Andy Love events. I'm going to spend 10 days with Sister Shanti. Like, I am putting myself in the spaces with the women who are doing big stuff, because that's the only way to go bigger, is to be in the frequency, to spend time in it. And yes, these calls are also super powerful for being in that frequency as well. But there's something special about being in person too. So yeah, that's what my business mastermind is all about. It's about doing this inner healing work and really coming into radical honesty about what's holding you back from the life of your dreams, what's holding you back from even being able to say, I want to have $1 million business. Sometimes I still cringe when I say that. I'm like, oh, you can't say that. You're never going to be able to do that. Well, I'm going to put it out there. If I don't do it, doesn't matter, right? Who cares? But the more I keep putting it out there and the more I keep talking about it, the more I start believing it's true. And so, you know, so I have a 6-figure business, but I am deep in this work as well. I will continue to be in this work. And that's also part of what is a draw to me for clients, is because I do the radical self-observation, the radical self-honesty, and there's no shame behind it. You know, like, this is the biggest thing. If we can start to release shame for women, this is what will create massive radical change. But you also have to, so this is all the feminine work, right? Which we have to do more of it because it's been so suppressed. But the balance of the masculine is also important. We have to have structure in our business. We have to have strategy. We have to know how to sell. And we can't be afraid to put ourselves out there. So that is about 25% of it. And this is a space that's open to anyone who already has business, or if you're just getting started, if you're like, I have no idea what I want to do, but I know this work is for me. It's for everybody at all levels of the spectrum. So yeah, that's my spiel about the business mastermind. If you guys have questions, you can always DM me through Instagram. That's a super quick way to get a hold of me. You can email me through my website. And Eileen shared the link so you can get all the details there, but it's one-to-one calls with me, it's group calls with me, and a lot of sisterhood, which is really fun. I also specialize in fun. I have a lot of placements in Sagittarius, so I know how to do the fun stuff too. I am an absolute amateur astrologer, but yeah, but this is the sacral, right? Like we get to do this intense stuff, and we get to build businesses, and we get to be CEOs and creatrixes and witches and priestesses and healers, and we also get to be fun humans who like do it in a really joyful way. So yeah, so if you guys have questions, let me know. Otherwise, thank you so much for being here. I really, really appreciate you all your time and your energy. And I hope I will see all you guys next week for the root chakra. All right, have a wonderful day. I'm reading your long note, Nikki. Yes, feel into it within. Absolutely. And everything. Feel it inside first and then watch it show up on the outside. All right, you guys are so welcome. Have a wonderful day. Love you all. Bye.